I have a problem with digital art, and it's that I zoom in way too much. I'm actually still currently in the habit of breaking out of doing that, but in the meantime, I've learned and noticed some things that are actually really helpful when you don't zoom out. So from somebody who chronically zooms in and out way too much, I wanted to share some benefits of why you shouldn't. The first one is that you'll actually draw faster. I know that that might sound crazy, but if you think about it, if you're not zooming in all the time, you're not going to be as hyper focused on the details of your drawing. There is a possibility with digital art to go and zoom in and make everything perfect, and since you can, you probably want to, but it's not really going to help in the long run because not everyone is going to have the access to the original high resolution image to zoom in at 10,000% and see a little tiny Among Us that you drew in somebody's eyelash, you know? If you do that and you want to do that, that's awesome, but as far as time goes, it's maybe not the best use of your time to hyper detail and render everything. Our brains are really good at actually filling in a lot of the detail, so you can actually use that to your advantage, because sometimes, and it is crazy, less is more. Just work on your focal point, get what you can done, and don't over render everything by zooming in, which you're more likely to do if you are at that 10,000% range. The second one is going to be that there's better proportions in your pieces because you're going to be looking at big picture decisions and be making those decisions the whole time. So if this drawing, for example, I'm working on a portrait, if I can see the whole thing the entire time, I'm going to be making big picture decisions. I'm going to be saying, this needs a little bit of extra lighting here, this needs a little bit of shadow here, but since I can see the whole thing, I'm making decisions for the piece as a whole instead of just for like small sections at a time that will collectively make the drawing inconsistent. So if I zoom in way on one eye and I shade it like the light source is on the right, and then I go to the other eye and shade it like the light source is on the left, but then go to the hand and shade the light source like it's on the right, but then I go to the hair and shade it like the light source is on the left, even though individually when I'm zoomed in the drawing looks fine, when I zoom out there's going to be a lot of inconsistencies with the drawing, whether it's the actual proportions or the actual lighting. I'm going to run into more problems just because I was fixating on little small sections that don't actually add up right, which is more likely to happen if you're zoomed in too much. The third thing is that you're going to prioritize your time. You're going to know what's most important and what's not as important. This kind of leans back into my first point. But usually when I work on a painting or a drawing, I'll kind of do a general first pass just so I get everything down to a degree, you know. I'll work on the basic shading, the skin, the hair, the clothing, the everything. I get a first pass in on that so I can get rid of my sketch. But once that sketch is gone, I can look at the piece and decide what needs to be prioritized. You know, I know the face is going to be a focal point. I know that I shouldn't slack off on drawing the hands, and it'll be different for whatever drawing you're working on, but if you are zoomed out the entire time, you're going to see what looks the most rough or the most unfinished, and you're going to be making your decisions based on priority. You know, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, no, I really need to zoom in on the little bell thing on her ear and make it super ray traced looking, you know, and have the deep reflections of the background around her. That's not a very high priority. I'll know, no, the face is the focal point. I need the hands to look right. Like her top design needs to look a certain way. So you'll actually be spending more time on things that are more important and contribute to the overall look of the piece rather than little tiny things that are kind of a distraction. So you're going to use your time better. You're not going to be as sidetracked with little things that won't matter or contribute to your art piece as much. And the next one is that you're not going to mess up your posture. You won't be craning your neck all the time. You know, I have bad eyesight. I wear glasses. So even when I zoom in on my drawing, I still like get like half an inch away from my tablet and just stare at those pixels. It's not a good thing to do. It's not good for your eyes. It's not good for your back. It's not good for your neck. There, you know, I'm sure that you've all seen the memes about the shrimp posture when it comes to artists. It's not a good thing to have. Sometimes it is good, like with an actual traditional piece, to give your eyes a break. You know, look far away, then look up close, so your eyes get a break. Give your spine like a little bit of leeway so it's not killing you every time that you're working on something, but you're less likely to do that when you're minding and keeping your distance from your piece. But if you're like, you know, really trying to see all the details and really trying to zoom in, Yeah, I have 3 guesses of what you look like when you're doing that, and all of those look oddly shrimp-like. But yeah, and another benefit of that is if you're not zooming in and out all of the time, if you do any kind of recording for your drawings, you're not going to have seizure-inducing time-lapse where you zoom in and out all the time, and it's just actually easier for other people to watch, because I have received complaints on previous drawings that had time-lapses that I like zoom in and out way too much, and people are like, dude, this hurts my eyes to look at. This is way too much zooming in or way too much panning and moving. And they're like, I can't. I like your art. I can't watch your videos, my guy. So, you know, if you have that problem too, it's a nice thing to be aware of. And then the last thing is improved dexterity. What I mean by that is you will actually get more coordinated if you don't zoom in too much. So I got an iPad about a year and a half ago, and I had a really hard time drawing on it just because the screen is a lot smaller than it is for my drawing tablet that I use in my day-to-day. I had a hard time, you know, with all the tools. I had big hands as a small tablet, and like my zooming in and trying to get everything perfect. And I had a really hard time drawing with it. And even when it comes to my digital art, I have a really hard time sketching as naturally as I do as when I'm sketching on paper. But I thought to myself, I can sketch on paper, and it's really specific and fine-tuned and detailed. But when I sketch on computer, it seems like really clunky and not intuitive. And even though I have Liquify and Transform and all these other tools to correct those mistakes, I still make a lot more mistakes. And I was wondering why that happened. But when I actually stopped zooming in, and I was trying to draw the piece as a whole just on my tablet, you know, it's like, don't move your drawing interface. Move your hand and move yourself in a position where it's like actually more comfortable to draw. You know, you start leaning into it, you start tilting, you start using like your body's natural momentum and movement to actually get those angles and stuff right. I actually found that, oh, I actually like got better at drawing digitally, because usually on my pieces I'll work on a sketch and redo it like 5 or 6 times in the same amount of time that it'll take for me to do one sketch traditionally and just like it. I would make 10 or 20 of them digitally that I still don't like, and magically I started to be able to use my iPad. I was like, wait, when I don't zoom in and I just try to make the lines right from the get-go, I get them right. That's crazy. So your dexterity will actually improve. You will get more coordinated with your tablet. It's kind of a pain in the butt at first. It's kind of like when you stop using the stabilizer in a drawing program. It feels like pain until you get used to it, but then you gradually get more and more coordinated, and you say like, no, this is actually possible. So yeah, that's just from personal experience. Me not zooming in has actually made my sketches digitally better. And you know, if I want to zoom in and use something specific, then yes, I can zoom in, but it's just not relying on it as a crutch. Use it as a tool, not as a crutch. But if I can do most of the work myself without really zooming in, when I finally zoom in like that last little chunk just for those fine details, I feel like I use my time way better. But yeah, now that I've gone on for a rant for a really long time about why you should zoom in and don't zoom in, just remember, it's your art, do whatever you want. But in my case, it has been largely helpful to kind of scale it back and take it easy and not rely on zooming in as much. So yeah, hopefully it's a thing for you to think about. If it improves your art, awesome. Please let me know if it does, or if you just found the video entertaining, cool. I hope that you had a fun time listening to me say zoom. You know, do a little drinking challenge. Take a shot every time I say zoom. You will die and end up in a hospital. But yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. My commissions are open for the holidays. There's a 20% discount. So if you want to get a piece for you or for a friend this holiday season, or maybe somebody you hate, yeah, they're open. I'll leave a link to those in the description, and I'll see you later. Bye.